and the founder and the host of the Best Mom Products show and podcast. Today I'm excited to interview Rachel Hofstetter, author of the book Cooking Up a Business, and co-founder of Guesterly, a one-of-a-kind magazine that connects everyone at your wedding. Rachel is a former food editor for the Oprah Magazine. When she wrote an article featuring 5 food entrepreneurs and received an incredible response from readers, she knew she was onto something. She ventured out to write her book about how these food and beverage lovers and creators turn their passion into a business. I'm loving her new book and the startup stories, struggles, and tips of the founders of PopChips, Hint Water, Justin's Nut Butter, Hughes Wine, and many more. Today we're going to focus on the key takeaways she learned from these foodie entrepreneurs, writing a book, and becoming so motivated by these stories that she became a tech entrepreneur herself. Welcome, Rachel. So excited to have you here. Great name,
Hi.
too. Hi.
I know. Great names. Great names think alike. Yeah. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, Rachel.
Great. Well, today I want to talk a little bit about all the interviews that you conducted, and I think what were there, about 20 of them, or
right about that? Yep.
Okay. What were the top 3 takeaway lessons you learned from these foodie entrepreneurs?
Well, it was so much fun because going into it, I really knew nothing about business. And a lot of times they would just take me through their story. I just wanted to know their story. And it's funny how the same tips came up again and again, not on the surface as tips. And yet when you hear the stories over and over, you're like, wait a second, you did that and you did that and you did that. And oh, it was successful every time. And so I think the 3 biggest takeaways really for someone who wants to start a business, but a food business specifically, but also I think this works for many types of businesses, is I would say the first thing is pick a product that makes your life easy when everything goes as planned. Pick a product that makes your life easy when you have your best case scenario. Or in that case, something, when you're out of your own kitchen. And so there's that. And then I will say there is huge power in branding, which isn't something we don't already know, but it's especially apparent in the food world. And then finally, I would say go out there and start in your local area and move outward in concentric circles. So I know that's a lot I just threw at you, but I want to tell you a little bit about each one of those because these are going to be your biggest takeaways here. First, pick a product that makes your life easy when it's out of your kitchen. And by that, I tell a story in Cooking Up a Business of Alex and Maddie. And these were 2 college students. They wanted to start a natural foods company. They were very passionate about making healthy food accessible to people. And they said, great, what kind of healthy food do we have? And Maddie made the world's best pesto. She was famous for her pesto. They'd throw dinner parties. Everybody would come. They said, great, we'll sell your pesto. But then they paused. Well, first they actually tried making it in their college refrigerators with all their roommates. People were like, whoa, your fridge is overflowing with pesto. And by the way, it's really hard to keep tons and tons of basil fresh. And then they started thinking, wow, we want to be a national company. We want to be a full-on healthy product brand. And perishable is hard. You can make pesto for a dinner party, easy breezy. But scaling it to be, in 10,000 stores across the country is just exponentially more difficult. Scaling it from making pesto for 10 to 100 is exponentially more difficult. So they went back to the drawing board and they said, what else can we do? Especially because we want to be big. And that led them to Maddie's mother's granola, which they then tested and tweaked. And the great thing about granola is that it's shelf stable. It's non-perishable. And that makes your life so much easier as you expand. And so I think it's one of the biggest lessons across the book is companies who might have even started in fresh products, like Evol burritos started as fresh burritos. That is hard to scale. So anything that you can do that is non-perishable, shelf-stable, it's just going to up the chances that you're going to be able to grow from 2 stores to 10 stores to 100 stores to 1,000 stores and so forth. So first of all, think about, not just right now, but 5 years from now.
Right. Great advice.
Second, you want to think about branding because food at its heart, the majority of food out there is a commodity product. What differentiates one banana from another? Not that much, right? We just grab the bananas. But when you go into the packaged goods, for example, it's like, oh, the cereal brand. Think how many millions and millions, billions of dollars are spent on cereal marketing every year. But it's really about getting the power of your brand right first. Why are you doing this? Why do you care? And in Cooking Up a Business, we tell the story of Tasty Brand. Tasty Brand started out as baby food. Today, not to like spoil the plot, but they don't even make baby food anymore. But all that energy they spent on their brand in the beginning was transferable. And now they make kids snacks and things like that. But the brand is still there. They were able to pivot so easily into completely different products from their original idea. But if your brand's there, A, you can sell it to consumers, but also you can keep figuring out what it is that you want to sell. Justin's is another great example. They started as nut butters, and now I'm not going to throw out numbers, but they make a very large part of their sales from candy, better for you candy. Finally, concentric circles. You want to start where people know you. Start where you're local. Start where you are right now. Whole Foods, for example, does 25% of their buying on a local level. And what you want to do is get into a store. If you live in Kansas, don't fly to Cincinnati and try to get a meeting with Kroger's. Get into your local store and show that you can get off the shelves there. Show that people buy you and then restock and buy your product again. And then what will happen is that store will say, by the way, this product is doing really well. The regional manager wants to hear what's doing really well in the local stores. And that's how companies like Lovegrown are able to literally go from Aspen to Denver to national in a period of 18 months or so. So yeah, I like to think in concentric circles and build your market outwards.
I'm curious from what you learn, and I'm not all the way through the book. I'm about halfway through, but I was reading about like the end caps at Whole Foods and some chocolate. It's how much does the entrepreneur for a food product have to be able to like hit the road and promote it at the store? To me, from just the few stories I read, it seemed like you have to really take that in consideration from a time perspective as well.
Huge time, money. You need to support the product, basically. And that can mean everything from discounting to coupons to advertising to social media. But you have to get the customers in there. It's not the store saying, by the way, let's discount this and run it in our little magazine or something. It's the entrepreneur and the company that really has to push that. And I think that's another great reason of starting in some spot, though. The founder of PopChips had the opportunity to go in all of the West at once. And he was like, actually, no, we can't, we don't want to do that. We want to start where we are and then get people in the stores, get loyal customers, and then slowly expand out. Because what he was recognizing, this was his second time around building a business, is that you need to get the product off the shelf. And so that's your job, basically, is to get the product off the shelf. And there's a number of ways to do that, and all sorts of the marketing and the demos. Demos are a huge way of doing that. But it's completely your responsibility. The store is just there to let it be, and you've got to help them sell it. So just be prepared for that. The kind of secret of the food world is that the challenge and the goal is not to get it off, is not to get your product on the shelves. It's to get it off the shelves. So a lot of people go, finish line, got my product on the shelves. Oh no, that's just the beginning, unfortunately.
Okay, well that is a great tip. Thank you for sharing that. I was wondering, what do you think that these entrepreneurs across the board have in common? What types of traits did they have, or did they, or was it unique to each person? What did you see when writing this book?
Hustle. I think more than anything else, almost every company in cooking up a business started from a really grassroots place. Whether they'd had a full career already, or college students, or in their 20s, or moms who were just kind of picking it up at the side. I think everybody hustles. There are very few people who can walk into a room and take $5 million and go and build a brand. That doesn't happen like that. Sorry, everybody who thought that, but it's not true. And so it's just hustle. It's hustling everything from when they're at a trade show. The founders of Back to the Roots, a mushroom kit, their thing is they never sit down at a trade show. And it sounds so silly, but it's like you never sit down. You never stop going. You never stop meeting. You demo all day long. Alex and Maddie of Lovegrown, again, spent 9 months literally working around the clock. They baked all night. They demoed and sent out packages and things all day long. And yet that's the hustle it takes. Doesn't have to last forever, but it's hustle.
Right.
The ability to just hustle.
You learned a lot. I would recommend to anybody out there. I'm reading the book right now. It really is filled with such great. I love how you worked in the stories. You're a great storyteller. The story with tips within each chapter. So it's great. So I will have a link on my website too. So if somebody wants to get the book, they can go ahead and get it. It's called Cooking Up a Business, and you and your husband founded Guesterly. So tell everybody what Guesterly is, and talk maybe about making that jump from becoming an entrepreneur.
Well, I like to say that my book should come with a warning sign on it, like, caution, you might actually be tempted to do this. I did not think I was going to start a company when I started writing this book. That was not the plan at all. And I had a dream job. I was a food editor. It was delicious. And yet, as writing this book, you're spending all this time, you kind of become the groupie of all these food entrepreneurs, and it gets in your blood, it gets in your brain. And I think two things happened in my life at tandem that if either one of them had happened at different times, probably be in a different situation right now. But my husband and I got married, and we said, wow, everybody's flying in from all over the world for this. How do we, really introduce them and connect them and kind of create this inclusive, fun vibe at our wedding? And we ended up making basically a mini directory, like a little playbill that had every single person there and a little bit about them, so you could look them up, you could see who was single, you could see who was coming from your hometown, and sent that out to everyone before our wedding. And it would have that's all it was supposed to be. Except while I'm writing this book, our friends keep saying, hey, could you do this for our wedding? And, oh, hey, could you do this for our wedding? And then a friend of a friend at one of those weddings says, hey, we'll pay you, of course. Would you mind doing this for our wedding? And so because that was happening while I was kind of, as you say, knee deep in the water of entrepreneurs, we started saying, hey, that's how a lot of these businesses started out. People said, hey, this nut butter is amazing. You should sell this. And I was like, it just starts to ring in your head. Wow, wait, I've seen this pattern before. Wait, how did it turn out when I saw the pattern before? And so we kind of realized we had something, had so much great feedback from people and people who were actively asking to buy something that didn't even exist. And we launched Guesterly, which is basically a software platform to anybody to make a little directory book for any event in their life. We like to say special events. And now I am knee deep in running a technology company. And so definitely was not the ending of the story I thought it would be, but it's a lot of fun. So.
No, that is awesome. And I want to talk a little bit more about Guesterly. What did you think the ending would be? What did you think was going to happen when you went into writing this book?
I thought it was going to bolster my food cred, to be honest. Again, just a food world thing. And I do speak a lot in the food world. And exactly. I just thought it was going to be kind of another notch on my food belt. And instead it ended up saying, hey, let's start a whole nother belt, an entrepreneur belt. But I just, that was food.
Yeah, no, that's incredible. Tell me about, making that switch to Guesterly and working with your husband. So were you newlyweds and you decided to do this? You're really going for all of it at once here. Yeah. Just have a kid and you'll put all of it in.
I know. No, he's not right now. Yeah. But no, that is going to be the next book I write. It's like how to start a business your first year of marriage. Yeah. Let's just say we have yet to actually make it on our honeymoon. Say I was the queen of work-life balance. Used to be. I go to yoga with all my other food editors at lunch. We would have these lovely parties every night. I would wake up. I would have you so rested. I would go on trips on the weekend. Ha, 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 ha. None of that anymore. None of it. And yet it's exhilarating, right? Like I was the person that was like, oh, I don't really check my email after 7. And yet now it's like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. My husband's like, what happened to you? Like you used to be so good. You would go to bed on time, but it's fun because it's yours. And I think that's the most exciting thing. And what really gets me excited about sharing the message of cooking up a business even is like, it is so thrilling to do your own thing. And it's like, it's accessible, I'm doing it. I shouldn't, I have no technical skills in anything that I'm doing. And yet all the people in cooking up a business just started with a dream and an idea and hustle. And so that's what gets me excited is you can actually do this.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Congratulations on all of it, on your book, getting married,
starting
Guesterly. You're in such an exciting time in your life, and it's very exciting. And I can see how passionate you are about all of them. So thank you for sharing your story and advice with Best Mom Products. Again, we'll have a link to your book on our site. And for those of you that are listening to this interview, if you enjoyed this interview, please go to our website, sign up for our newsletter at www.bestmomproducts.com, and we'll make sure to keep you up to date on expert business advice and keep you apprised of great interviews like these. So thank you. And Rachel, thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Tons.